Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to do more of my comic book collection. I am to, of course, just continue to just make my way through boxes and boxes of which that I have obtained through my vast number of purchases, either online or through comic book stores. And normally, what I would try to do is have a whole entire box that is to kind of fit a certain company or a certain theme. But in this one, it's to be way more rando than it obviously should be. So, if anything within these very much boxes here, you may go on and see more of me than any of the other ones. Except for the exclusion of stuff within outside of Marvel and DC. But if anyways, within this box here, I will hopefully be able to figure out why I had made all these purchasing of choices. And hopefully you will enjoy any number of these. Also, I am to, of course, do this upon a brand new phone of which that I had just gotten the day before. So, new phone, who dis? Yeah, like that's to be what's kind of going on here. And hopefully this works out. Hopefully this comes off well enough, and hopefully I can upload another video today. That'd be great. So with that said, let's get this going so that way ultimately you can see more comic books than just this mug of face that you are to go on and realize is right in front of you. So let's go on. Old Man Logan. This is to be Old Man Logan at number 1 through 5. This is to be, of course, the volume paperback, whatever books that are to be beyond. After a story is to, of course, have their individual issues at a certain point, then there also becomes the volume books. I had heard how great this story was, so I'm like, all right, like, I really want to go on and read this story, but I want to read it in volume form because I know how good it's going to be. So really, I probably should have backed and bordered this or whatever. But feasibly, I'm just like, I just kind of just had it here, and unfortunately, just didn't take the time to package this one. But if anything, yeah, Old Man Logan. Great story. If you guys have never picked it up, maybe you guys aren't to exactly be Marvel people, but if you are Marvel people, then feasibly I'll go on and say that if you don't know this story, check it out. If you do know this story, then you'll know how great it is. Shocker, right? A Wolverine story is a bad story. But anyways, here's a rando thing that was kind of big, so like I kind of this is to be a Ghostbusters comic book that was to be more of the over 70 full color photos just taken from the movie. I know that this is to probably be like, really, like you just took a book like that and like, yeah, like there is some really interesting books that are to be just from movies, and I just like to keep them as a collectible thing, even though they're probably not really worth much of anything. I just like to just kind of, if I love a film that much, then I kind of like to collect some memorabilia of it, regardless of how much that something like that may not be in a huge collector treasure of things. Moon Knight. This was, of course, was the changing the tide for Moon Knight, to where people actually were deciding to want to actually read his books. I actually do, I think, have the first ever appearance of Moon Knight. I think. I want to say that also I want to say that I either wanted to get the book or I have the book of the first appearance of Werewolf by Night also. But this is to be Moon Knight from 2016. This is the first volume. This is issues 1 through 5. Yeah. Really, when I had heard about this story through Comics Explained, I'm like, oh my god, this story is freaking amazing. Like the whole duo, like, is he crazy? Is he really going on? And is this really all happening? Like, we just have like a suspense of disbelief, and that's what made the story so entertaining. And just so like when the show came out, I was like, all right, like I was to hope as much as possible that the show was going to match this comic book for how much I really was to go on and enjoy it, because that was my hope. Uh, we have a kind of a rando book here, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, #1. I had read these stories, this story, and I think this is right around the time where, like, I think I was just appealed by its cover, and then I read the story. I'm like, really, this is what they're doing? Like right around this time is when they really just started to make like the kind of psychedelic comic books where I'm like, whoa, it's hard to buy into some of the colors and some of the things they were doing, like specifically like the the Captain America kind of comic books that were kind of going out around this time also, where it's just like, man, like what are they doing in these books? Like I feel like I'm going through an acid trip, and it was horrible. It's horrible. Um, like I didn't know what they were doing. But yeah, so we have a book of The Spectre here. This is issue number 44. I gravitated this one because of the cover. I was to go on and see the DC showcasing of the Spectre. And after seeing that, I'm like, who is this character? Like, I would go on and see the Spectre from time to time and realize how, like, kind of powerful and how interesting this character could be, but also, like, I never really got enough of him. So I would go on and find characters very much like this. Or on the Marvel side, I would try to find a character called Sleepwalker, which eventually is to kind of be similar to the Spectre in so many ways, and I found him very fascinating. I wish I could have gotten on to have gotten any issues of the Sleepwalker, because really I enjoy that character. I just don't have him here. There are so many characters that I found much later after I just stopped collecting comic books, and I wish that I could have gone on and continued in some facet of way, just to get like the early Sleepwalker stuff, or maybe even Starbrand, which there is iterations of that character that I really was to go on and be like, ooh, this is something interesting here. Batman Returns in a seemingly bit of volume book showcasing here. If you were to have gone on and seen my DC comic collection part 1, you of course have seen that I also had the Batman 89 book there, and I explained that I think I had some Batman Returns also. This is it. This is right here. And feasibly wanted to just kind of collect that. Nightcrawler. X-Men 2 Nightcrawler issue number 1. I had gotten this specific book because I had seen a kind of behind the scenes thing within the like a featurette of the movie, and hearing them talking about this story was kind of like fascinating to me. And I was like, okay, all right, like I'll collect this book. You clickbaited me into this. You've gotten me into wanting to check this out now, and I did read it, and it was actually pretty interesting to kind of see like what was going on with Nightcrawler from the stuff that you didn't actually see in the movie. So I thought that was actually interesting. All right, Marvel books. This, of course, is World War Hulk. This is classified. This is number 1. World War Hulk. Eventually, to come to find out that the character of Hulk, if you guys were to have ever seen the animated movie Planet Hulk, yeah, Hulk went on to eventually be shot off out to space, and then he came back and he was very upset, and he went on to take on Earth's mightiest heroes, and therefore and came back with a vengeance, and eventually became World Breaker Hulk, I believe, if I'm kind of familiarizing again with that story. Having his son Scar, which eventually we saw by the end of She-Hulk, that show, if anybody actually watched it. But yeah, Doc Samson on the cover here, Deadpool's and Abominations and Red She-Hulk. So this next one, there's a kind of a combination of reasons why I got this book. Sunfire. Sunfire and Big Hero 6. One, I thought it was fascinating that Big Hero 6 is to technically be a Disney bit of content, and then also is this, so it's kind of a bit of a joke. But I wanted to get this because of Sunfire, because I found him to be actually a fascinating X-Men character, as well as also characters like Silver Samurai, and there's just like a lot of interesting characters that I feel are in here. So that was my gravitation to this story, to just check it out. Avenging Spider-Man number 20. This, of course, you guys do not know, is Chameleon. I am a sucker for Chameleon. Yeah, and of course, live action, he's not very used all that well. And in all honesty, when I was to kind of read this story, I was kind of like, meh about it. I wasn't really won over by this issue, but I was like, well, oh well. Like, it is kind of cool to have kind of Chameleon being used in any story, and also he always gives really impressive comic book covers. Like, of course, the very iconic one, I think, is the one where it's like you can see the Chameleon and there's just kind of like this webbing over his face. Like, that's a pretty iconic Spider-Man cover in my opinion, but to each their own. So we have this Green Lantern number 9 issue here. Interestingly enough, we'll have at some point, for you who are to be Batman fans out there, Batman at some point in some comic books will eventually have the Green Lantern ring, and I think that was the books to have sought out, or to have found, or also to just find interesting covers of him having the Green Lantern ring was pretty awesome. So also, weirdly enough, the reason why I'd gotten this cover, honestly, is because this seriously looks like the two of these people almost kissing, so it's freaking weird. But and it just appealed to me by its weirdness. It's weird looking. Just being honest. And that could turn a lot of people off, like, it's weird. But yeah, I also try to cover a lot of weird comic books that just looked weird, and hence why I needed to get them, because they looked weird. I had gone on to recently watch, I think, I believe her name is Gotham and Glam. If I'm incorrect about that, maybe she can correct me if she actually watches any of these. But anyways, I had gone on to eventually find that she was to have mentioned like her favorite kind of Green Lantern covers, and seemingly this is one of them. And I was like, okay. Like, I can understand that. For me, I have a number of Green Lantern covers that eventually are to be fairly prominent to me in my own right. But I can see how, like, this one would just stand out as just being an interesting cover. Um, but I think I have also my own kind of certain selection, and maybe you'll come on to find that out when eventually I cover my Green Lantern books, because that will be next, or maybe that'll be before this one goes out, because this one is very random, very random. Uh, Sinestro, beware his power, #1. Of course, if you are a Green Lantern fan, if you have a story that covers Sinestro, yeah, you gotta collect it. Like, it's a no-brainer. Um, I love Sinestro. I love so many times where they had to like kind of do a retelling of his origin, and in some issues he's good, some issues he's bad right away. So it's kind of fascinating to see how like it really tells you what part of world we live in, where what Sinestro is to eventually be or exist as within the Green Lantern world of things. Um, and so I felt that I needed to always make Sinestro to be an important character in my mind. When it comes down to like, okay, who is Sinestro going to be in New 52s or whatever the heck else, where he starts off as a Green Lantern, and then eventually push comes to shove, and then eventually we see him change through time. New X-Men #26. This will be a very specific rationale for getting this book, because Days of Future Past, I don't know how close I am. I probably should be getting a lot closer. Days of Future Past homage cover. If you guys don't know what homages are, eventually I go on and I try to collect comic books that are very iconic. And then also I cover their copycats. They're ones that are to be identical in so many facets, and this is to be one of those. There are some of these where I really had to go on and have them be easy to find, and then there were some that I really had to hunt down. So regardless of people thinking that New X-Men is probably going to be nothing of a book to give a crap about, I got this one just because of the homage cover. So that's my rationale. Amazing Spider-Man number 590. This is to have gone on and been a Wolverine cover for some odd reason. And I just had to pick it up. It just looked so interesting. Wolverine poker playing. So yeah, I had to pick it up. It was very fascinating. I'm saying ooh at a Guardians of the Galaxy book of all things, but there's a reason for that. I liked this crossover. It was the only reason for me really wanting to get a Guardians of the Galaxy book, because I don't really care for those characters, in all brutal honesty. Number 21. This is the story where Venom is to do a team up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they find out that Venom has like a planet of other Venoms, and so they seek that out. And I really liked that story. It was a great idea, and finally taking Venom, I think this is Agent Venom, kind of outside his usual kind of setup was kind of just fun for me to take that adventure, and really liked this story. Even though normally I'm not a Guardians of Galaxy guy, I was just kind of so easily won over by it. Age of Ultron, of course, because of the movie, I bought this book easily. Age of Ultron is to have been a story that I started to consume, and I was like, okay, like the world is kind of in turmoil, and it all comes down to it being because of Ultron, and Yeah, like don't remember much about this book in all honesty. Really don't. It kind of went in one ear and out the other just because of um like I don't think it had enough significance. I've seen so many Ultron stories at this point that feasibly Age of Ultron didn't really stick much in there. But if anything, I had to kind of like they really pushed the importance of the story for some god reason. I don't know why. But anything, the Uncanny Avengers. This is to go on and be another homage. This is be number 25. This is a variant edition. Does this look familiar to possibly anybody? This is to be the Avengers poster cover. So yeah, of course I had to go on and obtain this bad boy because I'm like, I read the story and I was like, really? I was like, it's another just like just clickbait me because of the cover. But when I see what the story's about, I'm like, I didn't really care about this. But I had to check out the cover, or I had to check out the story because of the cover. They got me. Daredevil against Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. This is to be, I believe, issue 347. Yellow and red, and then red Daredevil. So, I was to actually like the yellow and red costume of Daredevil. And I like the fact that in some, both live action and the comic books, they kept coming back to it, even though a lot of people could say how, like, yeah, the yellow sucked, that's so ugly, whatever. No, I actually liked the yellow. Like, it shows, like, the early goings of this character. It's just, like, when you really think about it, like, you have a blind superhero, does he really care what the color of his costume is? No, the color could be anything. The color doesn't exactly need to be red. If anything, the character can go on and just be intimidating based on his skill. And even if, like, Daredevil can look ridiculous and still be an intimidating force. Like, I've gone on to see characters like the Creeper and all kinds of other things in so many comic books where it's like, you look at the character and you're just like, what the is this? But then he goes on and takes care of business, and you're just like, okay, all right. So this is to be a what if issue number 31. What if Spider-Man had kept his cosmic powers? Obviously, I liked I believe it's Captain Universe, is this character, and I liked this story where Spider-Man had become Captain Universe briefly. It seemed that Captain Universe would be this very random character that would go on and show from time to time and just help out, and be in several different characters and whatever. And I always like thought that Captain Universe was really interesting. I really should have backed him forward with this. Well, this one kind of slipped my mind. But yeah, I had read this story, and like the sad thing always about the what ifs is it always is to be just some like disappointing ending to make you realize like why it never happened. The heartbreaking one is the what if where Spider-Man is to get married to Black Cat, and I'm like, yeah, this is the book I wanted to read. And then I end up reading the whole story, and I end up getting so disappointed by it. So disappointed. I'm like, no, I wanted to see Spider-Man and Black Cat together. And then I read the book and I'm like, like, I think that was like the first what if story like I read from start to finish. And eventually I was so disappointed by it. I was like, fuck. Like, so. And then I started to read more what if stories, and then I realized the pattern of like them always trying to like ruin the story of like, oh yeah, that's why we never did it. So it's like, oh, okay. All right. can't give me a happy ending. Detective Comics number 627. You can probably immediately see why I had collected this, because this is the anniversary. This is a 600th appearance. And it's a homage book. It's a homage cover. Of course, if you guys aren't to be very familiar with this certain thing of things, like, I would go on to see that not only like this cover would be so homaged, but then also when you kind of look at it, like Spider-Man almost was to go on and do almost the exact same kind of pose, and that book ends up getting homaged like ridiculous. I try to collect all of those, and it just kind of got ridiculous because they would just keep piping out just more and more of not only these homages, but then also the homages of the Spider-Man doing his thing. Deadpool, number 38. And this says Hulk smash. Problem? Question mark. Deadpool number 38. Immediately when I was to go on and see that there was a Deadpool book with both Hulk and Deadpool within it, I'm like, I have to read this. I cannot not read this book. Like, yeah, you have easily to just figured out a way of getting me fascinated into the story. I did read it, and I actually thought it was a pretty decent story anyways. So I was like, okay. Like, so yeah, like, this was cool. It gave me characters that plus I'd also gone on to see the animated movie Hulk versus, where Hulk was Hulk versus Wolverine, and eventually there's like Deadpool in that, and Sabretooth, and that movie is hilarious. I love that movie. Hulk versus Wolverine is so great. The Hulk versus Thor, I really didn't care for that one. But Hulk versus Wolverine is amazing. If you've never seen it, you need to. If you like Hulk and Wolverine, you need to see that story. So this is Batman 666. This is to be the story of Damian Wayne as he is to be in a distant future of alternate timeline, where he is to finally take on the Batman mantle. And when I was to go on and randomly find this story and hear how, like, disturbing and dark it was, and almost felt like The Killing Joke in so many ways, for how really dark and gritty it was. Is like, okay, like, how can I not be wanting to collect this issue, as well as also the 666 issue, where it's like, this is certain numbers and Damien and yeah. So I really loved this cover, and I thought this story was so interesting, and yeah, this was fun. This is a fun book. So here we have another homage book, Captain America number 25. This is to go on and be also of I think a Deadpool variant. Of course, if you don't know much about Captain America, you'll come to find that this one, I don't think it's homage very often, but it's to be the more iconic, just Captain America comic book, just thing that you identify with him with, of him punching out Adolf and yeah, just really enjoyable cover and story. Man, we're getting a lot of Deadpool here. Deadpool, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, part 2 of 5. This is number 16. Really went on to get this one because of the characters in the back here. If you can't quite make it out, there seems to be quite a cluster of characters. I'm like, ooh, like, who are all these characters in this book? All these X-Men looking characters. Very much to have been fascinated into that. Now we get some early New 52. This is to be the Green Lantern, Volume 1, dubbed Sinestro. This is to be Green Lantern Sinestro, issues number 1 through 6. Of course, if you had already gone on to have me talk about Sinestro, yeah, this, oh, just going on and resetting this character when Jeff Johns didn't really think that he needed to reset his Green Lantern characters whatsoever. It's just kind of be interesting to me. Because Green Lantern stories were doing really well. And so I think there's kind of a hesitation for Jeff Johns to really want to go on and want to change up all of his characters. Like no, like why would I go on and why would I do that? But it was interesting to see how they were really going on and separating the Green Lanterns in New 52, where Kyle was getting his own story, which I read the beginnings of it, and I was kind of fascinated how Kyle was getting all of the rings, as all the rings were all of a sudden coming off the original ring bearers and coming to him, bizarrely. And how also, like, they were going to have both Guy and John Stewart together in Green Lantern Corps. I was kind of fascinated by that. Superboy, issue number 70. For me, I do like me some Superboy. I was to come to find that Superboy New 52 was doing well, so I'm like, okay, I'll buy into that. Because I started to hear which issues were doing well in New 52, so I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out how to get these issues. And also, I wanted to get some Superboy in the leather vest, because leather vest Superboy is just freaking awesome. Just leather vest Superboy with the shades, just killer. So yeah, so I know a lot of people probably may not go on and like exactly Superboy. But if anything, I honestly didn't much enjoy Superman. So I'm like, but I can always go on and like Superboy for some reason. I don't know why. This is issue 71. I don't know. I think it was just Superboy's design just appealed to me. 72. Really interesting bit of characters on the cover here. Like I said, this is gonna get really random. Superboy issue number 73. It says on the top here, the agenda took over Cadmus, part 4. Now they're going to take it back. Oh, Cadmus. So, if you guys don't know much about Cadmus, eventually there is to be, like, Young Justice that also covers Cadmus in its way, and sets up that Superman, of course, is to be a clone of Superman. And eventually, in Young Justice, they would come to find that there was, like, a bunch of experimental things that Lex Luthor had experimented on. And there was a number of different kind of creatures that were all eventually with Superboy and Cadmus, and they eventually either all got free or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of the reason why all these kind of characters are here, kind of weirdly just morph the way they are. Well, I don't believe in this iteration. It's been a while since reading this story. Superboy number 74. We have I love mirror matches, so obviously when you have a Superboy facing off against Superboy here, weirdly enough, also we'll come to find that a Superboy facing off against a Superboy in a comic book cover, that tends to happen quite often. I don't know why it does, but it seems to happen quite often. When there's kind of different iterations of the character. I think the new 52 Superboy comes back to face off against another Superboy in some other comic book issue. I believe. You can correct me in the comments if I'm mistaken by that, but I'm just trying to do my best to kind of have a memory of all these books. Beginning a new chapter in the life of Superboy. 75, we have a coffin, leather jacket slapped upon it. We always, I guess, have to collect these books where people die also. But again, Robot Chicken, that DC special. I love that. And I'll always reference it. Yeah, we'll get some magic medallion or some alternate world where this character exists, and we'll just reset every. So, no powers, no problem. I'll take more. It'll take more than that to stop me. Superboy number 76. Superboy with a gold shield and a black shirt, showcasing a little bit of oh, but we get the shades. We get the shades, everybody. They put in those shades. Superboy number 71 fights alone as death lurks in Project Cadmus. Yeah, more of this Project Cadmus. You get the, I believe this character is the Guardian. I believe is kind of reference, I think, from Young Justice. Ooh, this is gonna be a little bit weird to talk about this. The Savage Dragon number 1. I know this is an odd collecting thing, but I think there's a lot of people that really got into Savage Dragon. I liked the weird monster characters like the Omax and of course the Demon Etrigan and stuff like that. So Savage Dragon was kind of like, ooh, all right, let's check this out. Also, I come to find out later that Savage Dragon's comic books eventually got way more adult in their iterations. So eventually, I was to kind of get clickbaited into wanting to collect the original Savage Dragon book. Because feasibly, I was like, okay, maybe I'll collect more of these later and maybe find out how adult these books are getting at some point. It should just have just a... I think Savage Dragon number 1 is a collector item to me. Nova Unchained number 15. If you guys know that there was a separate iteration of Nova where he became a child, and it was basically the original Nova had a son, and basically, because I read the early stories of this, and hence why this is 15, and this whole story was like the secondary Nova trying to find his dad, trying to figure out what happened, and eventually having characters like Rocket and I think Gamora were kind of like his sidekicks and stuff like that. And the story was to go on, and I feel to be like, I think good enough. It was fairly slow to me, but like I read so much of it. I really did like this story. Eventually, at some point, I just kind of got into like, it's Nova. It's like I would rather go on and probably read the earlier parts of Nova to just kind of compare and contrast, and besides just reading this, because I think the older issues got a little bit more creative. But anyways, this to be Fantastic Four, the 20th anniversary of the fabulous Fantastic Four. This to be the triple sized special. 236. So the reason why I had gotten this cover is because all of the characters that are thrusted upon this bad boy, that is to be the enticing reason to get this whole thing. Again, this is issue 236. I'm to be a person that doesn't collect much of Fantastic Four, but I collect the homage things. Like, of course, the green monster ripping out of the ground. Like, that ended up getting homaged so often, so I had to collect that story, that issue. I don't know if I have the wedding issue or not. I don't think I do. But I know how significant that is to Fantastic Four. I think the Future Foundation, where Spidey was with the Fantastic, I also have a bit of those copies because I really liked the white costume of Spider-Man. That was freaking amazing. Plus, I also liked the whole idea of Spider-Man working with Fantastic Four, the Future Foundation. That was key to me. Plus, also, I really liked any time that Peter was to have changed his costume. I think, have the issue where Peter ended up getting the bag over his head with the Fantastic Four costume. I had to get that. That was great to see that story. So I really wanted to get every single book where Peter had to change costumes. Big time, yeah, like I try to get every book that had a changing of costume. This is another Batman Returns comic book. Yeah. Little dark, a little faded there, but yeah, just another one of these. Ooh, we're getting a little bit more creative here. So, oh, this is issue number 4. Ooh, this is a cool one though. So we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles teamed up, crossovered with Ghostbusters, and there was a whole comic book done about it. And I had read quite a bit of this, and it was so like, we have to go on and kind of do very 50-50 booking here, where it's like, okay, we need to bring in like a Ghostbusters villain, because we have to bring in like Vigo the Carpathian, but then also we have to bring in like the Shredders and this and that. We have to kind of give this equal thing, and like we have to just have it to where Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Turtles just fall into this dimensional thing, and that's why we see them uniquely here. And yeah, just like, these covers were fun, the stories were fun, or the story was fun, but it was just like a wonky way to have these characters just to fall in together, to like. And I wish that they would have had to made it so goofy. I wish that they would have gone on and just told like a more normal crossover story, instead of doing kind of these goofy things with these characters. I feel they went really goofy with these characters. Deadpool number 41. I had gotten this because Deadpool started to do, or Deadpool, comic books started to do these homages to movies, and this obviously is to be the Mad Max one. So I had to get it. I had to. Wade Wilson is Deadpool, the merc with the mouth. Yeah, I had to get this because I enjoy Mad Max. I enjoy that movie. And like, I don't know if I got really much of the movie cover things. I should have, because who I am. But I think I was gonna go on and get more of them, but I was gonna be very picky about the one. I wasn't gonna get all of them. I think I was gonna be very choosy. But I really was like, to find this book and to not pick it up. Injustice God Among Us, number 9. So in honesty, like, the later and later that Injustice God Among Us started to become, honestly, the more boring the issues started to be. Like, once it started to get to where you'd have these crossovers between, or crossovers, you had, like, these huge versus things where they just crammed all these characters into all these books. The further and further they started to do that, where they brought in, like, Detective Chimps and the Spectre and all the supernatural characters, like, right after that, I completely lost interest in Injustice God Among Us. It started to get very boring, and basically it was just like, hey, let's just do a big duke out with these characters, and the story was really going nowhere. It was really going nowhere. It was really stretching. And then eventually, once we got here, all of a sudden, just, they took, like, this big shift. Also, with just kind of throwing all these things in. I'm like, okay, where is this story going anymore? And Lex and Superman working together, but it's all to be this scheme of, like, well, hey, kind of Lex is kind of being double agent here, and we don't know really if we can trust him. But anyways, yeah, so in the early rungs, I loved this story, but the further it went on, the more it just, like, it faded, and so did the video games of it just being a Mortal Kombat clone. New 52, Green Lantern Corps. Yeah. This is to be issues. I'm trying to see here where exactly. Did it say the issues anywhere? I don't think so. So just rest assured that it's just Volume 1, Fearsome. I don't see where it says the comic count. I'm not seeing it anywhere. But anyways, yeah. Honestly, Guy and Stewart are kind of my favorite Green Lanterns. After that, of course, we have to say Hal, obviously. Kyle, there's some good runs of this character somewhere, if you can find him. Surprisingly enough, after that, like, Jessica Cruz, after seeing Justice League versus the Fatal Five, oh my god, was that just an interesting character that I really wanted to go on and find more comics of, just because it's, like, just an interesting way to do the whole, like, a Green Lantern being an afraid bit, to where the character, like, she doesn't know how she can go on and be a hero because she has a problem getting outside of her door every day to push herself to need to defend the Earth the way she does. So I really loved that character, but I was also just be like, by that time, like, it was so late in the game of me not as much collecting comic books, so it was kind of like, I really wish I could have gone on and gotten more Jessica Cruz books, but maybe I might have randomly and didn't even know it. Superman New 52. This is issue 27. At the mercy of the Parasite. give me an issue where Parasite is the focus, and you got me. Again, I would probably say that I'm not much of a Superman fan, but I like parts of Superman's rogues gallery. So call me a sucker if Parasite is to be something that I always enjoy. Uh, I go on and I look at a character like Parasite and I see him being used in either like the Justice League or Justice League Unlimited. I'm not quite sure what exactly one that they used him in. Uh, that's where I look at that character at first, and once I see that he's kind of like a character that is to be so strong in power, I'd be like, okay, I want to see all the kind of issues I can possibly get out of this character, and so this ended up being one of those. This, of course, ends up going on to be a homage cover, because we have Supergirl number 79, and there could be only one. This cover ends up getting so reused and so recycled, and this ends up being a death of a Supergirl. It doesn't really matter, because when there is death of Supergirl, there is always Supergirl. But if anything, with the new movie coming out of Supergirl, which is exactly timelining when this video is coming out, I guess I have to just put out a Supergirl book on here, and have it be a thing to definitively probably have. I hope this makes the thumbnail also. Justice League 3000 from New 52. Ooh, this is also the price tag still on this, as well as the ones that follow. I got this for a whole $1.50, everybody. This is Justice League 3000 issue number 7. Immediately when I saw Justice League 3000, I'm like, oh man, I gotta find hopefully a thing that covers this, and luckily, or a place to get this, and luckily I did. Because like, yeah, I was so fascinated by like future versions of a Justice League. I had to get it. So I did. Avengers The Initiative, I believe, number 11. Price tag still on there. This is to be of a character called MVP that eventually at some point ended up becoming Iron Spider, and I had to collect his these comic books of him just because I was fascinated by the character. And MVP was to go on and actually have initials of his name kind of match the acronym and whatever. But yeah, I was just to be fascinated by the way that this character was going to go on and play out. So the Fantastic Four finale, number 16. This will probably not be the very last time that they end up finaleing the Fantastic Four. It is kind of hilarious, again, how I said I wasn't really much of a collector of Fantastic Four. But if you kill them off, guess what? I'm going to probably collect the book. Plus, also, I love a cover when you just have a barrage of all these characters within it. So I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to be interested in this story. Because I just like the... Plus, also, it was like a homage of that other book that you had just seen, of course, earlier. There is at one point where... there are a number of people, when they go on and they read this story, they immediately complain about how the outbreak eventually happens within the story. But I had also collected the variant cover of Fanboys versus Zombies, and does it say the issues? No, it doesn't on the back. Oh well. Yeah, Fanboys versus Zombies. I was to find this story just so fascinating about a zombie apocalypse that happens in a Comic-Con. And I had to check this out. I really did. And like I was just so fascinated by its visuals, this story. And eventually, like the further and further this goes along, the more just like goofy it gets because they just were to have fun with this story. And eventually they like go into space. Like that's how goofy they go because they just wanted to have fun with this book. And I would go on and uh to have heard about bits and pieces of this randomly, and then I started reading it myself. I'm like, okay, like this is like a really telling of the times that we had like The Walking Dead, and then this story came out. So yeah, like it is to be very gory and very gruesome, and to really just be like, well, yeah, of course, Comic Cons are very popular, so we have a. Also, my fascination of this was because of there was a show that I watched at one point that eventually was also a comic book, I believe, called Utopia, I believe. Yeah, so that's how I randomly found this story, and I was like, okay, I just need to read this. So because there are a number of people that all meet together at a Comic-Con, and then the zombie outbreak happens, and that was kind of like Utopia, where a number of people all go on and they make their way to a certain convention that is to be about this one book, and then someone is selling it. So I was just kind of like, okay, like it seems like a very similar story. All right, JLA and Avengers. So at some certain point, I think this may. Oh, these are to be a couple of different comic books put together instead of one. Instead of one. Kind of tempted to open this. I don't want to. At one point in time, like we have now, where it's like Deadpool and Deadpool and Batman are kind of teaming up. This is kind of bringing back that, where we would go on to have side by side Marvel and DC kind of working together. Like eventually we also had like the amalgamations where they would just fuse characters together and do goofy crap like that. And so every once in a while we'll go on and we'll have comic books that do have Marvel and DC together in one story. So I collected this for the purpose of that. For getting like those books that I thought were kind of valuable. Even though also it's a very 50-50 booking. The stories are kind of this is to be Red Lantern number 25. I don't know if this. Oh, these are gonna be very random. Well, not very random, but they're gonna follow the same pattern. So, if you guys do not know, in Red Lantern's New 52, at some point, Guy Gardner comes back to the Green Lanterns and creates this very interesting cover that I obviously had to pick up. And eventually, I started to try to read as much Red Lanterns as possible when Guy Gardner was involved. And man, this cover is really gory. But also, like Red Lanterns, you can go on to find that they would just be having blood come out of their mouth. Because that's just the weird thing that they would go on and just do. And that's what I found just fascinating about those characters. That would come to find that to be just so much of a unique thing that I had to just check out this story because of that, because of stuff like that. This is issue number 22. For once, they agree. I would go on to see like the Red Lanterns eventually in. There is a Green Lantern animated series that eventually had the Red Lanterns in it, and eventually you would start to see at some point some of the Red Lanterns. I want to say that this is Barfleet or Barfleas or something like that. I know there's like a Dex Star cat character of the Red Lanterns. God, I'm trying to remember the names of these characters because it's been a while. But I really loved this female Red Lantern character. I was like, okay, if they were to go on and do solo books of her, man, would have gone on and really collected them because I really liked that character that much. I thought she was fascinating. And like eventually I would come to find that like the new 52 Red Lanterns like started off with mostly just focusing on Atrocitus, and then eventually Atrocitus would go on to find other Red Lantern characters, and eventually the further and further the story plays out with eventually Hal going to Guy and saying, hey, like, can you go on and can you go back to being a Red Lantern? Because, yeah, you really need to kind of be the one to kind of put them in line, and you're going to have to be the one doing that because Hal trusted Guy the most. So, to where Guy was like, say it, like, say that I'm better than you. Oh, yeah, here we go. Red Lanterns, number 21 of New 52. Guy Gardner, traitor to two cores. Yeah, this brought me into this story. I was like, heck yeah. This is to be the second time we'll see a green and red lantern to be used here. Another time, we'd come to find that Guy would slip in both red and green rings, and all of a sudden, like, a huge, just massive, like, chaotic thing goes on where, like, the Red Lanterns have to stop Guy from, like, exploding or imploding or what. Yeah. So they had to go through some, like, ridiculous lengths to get Guy to stop doing what he was doing, to stop getting him from doing these constructs, because of how powerful he really was, and how much they had to stop him within that story. But that was so profound to me to see that play out. This is issue 13. Atrocitus. Yeah, they focused a lot on him in the early stages of the Red Lantern story, and it's like, okay, like I would like to have changed it up a little bit. The death, or the Dead Lantern Corps. Black Lanterns, issue 9. We have, I think, Necron. At some point, for those of you there to be not much of Green Lantern fans, at some point there is to have been this event called Blackest Night. Blackest Night goes on and immediately just puts on the table, hey, let's kill everyone off. Even Batman. We can kill off Superman, Batman, create these really interesting covers, and it'll be fun. And eventually it created like a really profound story, but also it's just like, okay, like all of this is just gonna be a throwaway, right? And they go on and even kill like Flashes and stuff like, yeah. So if anything, We have Red Lantern number 7 here. I thought that who is this Red Lantern character fighting Guy here? And honestly, it looked like this guy was to go on and be like a clone of Guy or something like that. And no, they just end up getting just another Red Lantern that looks way too much like Guy Gardner. And like it seems that he goes on and does a pretty massive run. Um, as this new Red Lantern guy that they just focus on for some absurd reason I don't get why. And then we kind of forget that he exists. We forget that he exists, basically. Anyways, Red Lantern number 2. Very interesting cover here. It just says Rage on there. Man, that seems very lazy. It's like, yeah, you'll pick this up. It's Red Lanterns. You'll like this story. Did I just keep all the Red Lantern story in here? I may have. Yeah, this is Red Lanterns number 1. Maybe I just kept all these Red Lantern books in here. Because I know I read a good chunk of the story. So I'm just kind of... Yeah, Red Lanterns number 0. Yeah, I read a good chunk of the beginning of this. So maybe I just didn't figure out where to put Red Lantern, so I just shoved them in here. Here's a WWE Superstar. Here's where it gets really random. So, we have CM Punk here and AJ Lee. So I am a wrestling fan. Honestly, while looking at this story, this looks like Ben Grimm's cover. Because if you guys don't know, CM Punk likes to shout out it's clobbering time when he gets into the ring. So eventually, we have a comic book cover that looks very similar to Ben Grimm's iconic cover, and that's why I also collected this. But also, I was like, hey, I'm a CM Punk fan. Oh, here's where we go into the homages. Fantastic Four, number 264. I had to collect it. I had to get it. The world's greatest comic magazine. Torch, wait, Torch, wait, this time it's on our side. This might be a different issue than a one in other cases, where it's the actual homage cover. But either way, I really was like, you're gonna give me another one of those where I'm just suckered into the story. Earth 2, number 1. New 52. You have a Batman or a Batman adjacent kind of character here. I don't know if I got a Earth 2 0 issue, but yeah. I wanted to see what was going on with Earth 2. Because feasibly they were telling me that there was going to be another run of the blonde-haired original Scott Allen Green Lantern, so I was kind of fascinated by that story. Green Lantern number 3. This has the Manhunters. I'd gone to play the video game that was to be the Green Lantern video game that was based on the movie, and they had Manhunters in that. I'm like, yeah, this video game is freaking awesome. And it felt like almost like a sequel to the movie. The movie was crap, but I didn't care. I liked the fact that they end up using the Manhunters in the video game, and I liked that. And so anytime there was to ever be a comic book cover of Green Lantern that has a Manhunter in it, I'm definitely getting it. I thoroughly enjoy the Manhunters. The idea behind the Manhunters is so fascinating, and I wish that Manhunters would have been used a lot more everywhere. It's I know it's a very basic story where before there was Green Lanterns, there was the Manhunters. And I know also we have Martian Manhunters, so people will easily get that confused. But yeah, I really thought that the Manhunters were fascinating of characters, and to kind of also, for those of you that are X-Men fans, if you guys were to go on and like Sentinels, like basically the Manhunters were the equivalent of Sentinels, to where we just have these robot characters that go on and they give their own kind of brand of justice in their own faceted ways. Ooh. Green Lantern co-starring with Green Arrow. This is issue number 116. Green Lantern, stop charging your power ring before it's too late. Yeah. I go on and I wanted to find Green Lantern stories that were to be the most key important ones, and of course, like Green Lantern and Green Arrow teaming up together are obviously to be books that are very important, are very I think key stories. I would have wished that they would have always had Green Lantern and Green Arrow team up together forever, like always continue to have that story to be told, plus also just give Hal his own story. But yeah, I think it was rather disappointing that they didn't like do a callback to these stories and bring back Lantern and Arrow back together. It's sad. I know it also brings back the realization that they did have issues that kind of covered on drugs, but I don't care. Convergence number 4. I had heard that this was a big event going on in comic books, a Convergence. I think there was like some interesting ideas here with Convergence, but also it was an event that probably no one's going to remember, or no one will probably give a crap about. But I thought there was some interesting ideas that could clickbait me into the story, but Convergence number 3. These characters here. I don't know. Convergence number 2. Kind of different Batmans here. I don't think I think here's a stupid thing about me. I was impulse probably buying these to eventually read them, and then I never got to them. What a mistake that was. I was very much clickbaited into like what they're doing with these, but again, I never took the time to actually read them. We're at the tail end here, and this is end at the weak point. Convergence number 1. This is to be Earth 2, and also in the back here, so it's kind of like a double cover here. Yeah, so that is to be the huge. This is to be the mystery box here. This one is to be a little bit shorter than some of the other ones, so probably that is to be the rationale for having this video to probably be shorter than others, maybe. Next, I'll go on right after this is to be done and do a Green Lantern thing. So this one is going to be sold as just a random boxish. So this will be the random mystery of Marvel and DC stuff. To wrap this bad boy up, I think there was a lot of characters that I wish I could have collected more comic books of, and I'll say that here. Besides the ones I've probably mentioned, I wish I would have gone on and collected a lot more of the Question. That DC character is so fascinating to me. I wish I would have collected more of the Ray, even though I do have quite a bit of his early stuff. I wish I could have gone on and collected the Mask. If you guys remember that Jim Carrey character, eventually he had a comic book, and the comic book is way different than the movie. I think those are very valuable to me. I wish I would have collected a lot more Lobo, probably. Uh, I do have some interesting Lobo books, but I even have the new 52 one, I think. That eventually, the way it starts off is like, this is not as uh good as I thought it was going to be. And then eventually, a lot of people write off the new 52 as a Lobo as like, this is garbage. Uh, they reinvent a character that didn't need to get reinvented, and they drastically reinvent him to where it's like, yeah, this sucks. So, with that said, yeah, Starbrand would have been a character. Other than that, like, I wish I could have gone and collected a lot of things outside of Marvel and DC, but those are the ones I gravitated to most. Uh, Booster Gold, I think, does have some interesting books at some points. Like, there was a whole run where there was like cover after cover where it was just homages over and over and over again. I really did like the run that Deadpool was doing where he was like consistently going back in time to certain key Marvel stories, and like I liked those. Uh those got me really fascinated in just having Deadpool being roped into these timelines of stories. Yeah. I think I'm just gonna get out of here so I can shoot this on YouTube. Thank you for watching this, however long you are going to do so. Um, I hope that I can go on and keep uh, keep being able to push more videos besides just doing reviews, just so that way it can just have something more interesting to put out than just, okay, I'm doing another uh, explanation of some movie or some show. Surprisingly, it's like amazing how well Sailor Moon is doing right now. Um, I'm so grateful for people going on and watching the content of which that is going out right now, because I'm very much experimenting. I'm very much going out on a limb on these videos, so it's great that people will actually go on and check them out. Especially maybe this one for how severely random it's going to be. So thank you for checking out. I do appreciate you doing so, because I'm gonna go here so I can go on and put another video out, or do one more video and then probably call it a day. So thank you for watching this, because I do appreciate it. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.